When I was a kid, we had a phrase that was admittedly odd, but we all said it. And that phrase was all that and a bag of chips. I'm not sure what chips had to do with it, but the phrase was usually aimed at someone who thought they were more important, better than they really were. And it wasn't always a phrase or an accusation used lightly. So and so thinks they're all that and a bag of chips. The reality is, most of the time, we're not, even when we think that we are. Now, before we get too judgmental, most of us have been there. In fact, I could probably go out on a ledge and say all of us have been there before. Even Moses. Remember Moses? Moses, who was called to go into Egypt, the place that he was kicked out of, the place that he was run out of, called to go there to set the Israelites free, called to go there to save the people that God so deeply loved. Remember Moses as he came out of Egypt in the midst of the amazing wonders that God showed Egypt and the people? Remember the journeying in the wilderness, crossing the sea, the doubts that people heaped on him? But Moses was faithful. And quite frankly, Moses was doing a pretty good job. And Moses started to think that he was all that and a bag of chips. But I think Moses needed a little humbling, don't you? God has a way of doing that. Not in a way that harms us, not in a way that throws us down and kicks us while we're down there, but in a way that can be deeply meaningful. And I think we find an instance of that here in chapter 17 of the book of Exodus. Let's take a look at this verse. But Moses' hands grew tired. So they took a stone and put it under Moses so he could sit down on it. Aaron and Hur held up his hands, one on each side of him, so that his hands remained steady until sunset. Don't you love the image? Moses having to stand there all day in order to be part of this miracle that God was doing, but he had to stand there with his arms out. Now, try that for about 5 minutes. See how long you can keep your arms out without even holding anything. It gets pretty tough. Maybe Moses thought he could do this on his own. Not just this hand thing, but everything. Maybe he started to think that he really was all that in a bag of chips. But he soon realized that he needed some help. And so Aaron and Hur come over, and they put a rock under him, a place where he could sit. They gave him a chair. And then they realized that his arms were heavy and needed help. And so they lifted up his arms and held them. They became for him an extra skeleton, if you will, an extra set of muscles to accomplish the task before him. He couldn't do it alone. Moses was humbled. He realized once again that he was not, in fact, go ahead and say it with me, all that and a bag of chips. Are there times where we need to realize that our arms have been held longer than we realize? Probably. I know I've had to have those moments where I remember that there are those around me who help make my life successful. Nothing that I do is done by myself. And I mean that in a very literal way. Yes, God is with me, God walks with me. But when I look around my community, and as you look around yours, you'll see so many who are sliding rocks under you and holding your arms up. God reminds us that not only are we not all that in a bag of chips, but we don't have to do it alone. We can't do it alone. and you haven't. Amen.